Okay, so I wrote this big post a couple months ago on my blog, which is how to buy Google Ads, which is a full step by step tutorial. And it's really the safe way to go ahead and set up your ads account, the budget stuff, the tracking stuff. It was really meant to be a how to guide on setting up your own Google Ads. And I think that's good. It's helpful. This video, this is the version that I actually believe is really the real meat of what's being asked when people are typing into the search engine how to buy Google Ads. And sometimes I have this push pull. I feel like I am a writer first. I love to write. I've spoken about that. I've talked about on this YouTube channel. How I come to you today as a writer first and somebody that makes videos second. But sometimes what I want to do is sort of marry the two and show you the person that I am through video and then support that with what I feel like I deliver the best, which is my written word. And so today we're going to do the version that I wish that I had written a couple months ago. And we're going to stack it into this blog and give it a little bit more life and context around it. So sort of back to the story. So my backstory here, and I don't really talk about it a lot on the video, or I guess I would say I don't really talk about it a ton on YouTube, my story, because part of my growth as a business owner has been frankly keeping things a little bit closer to the vest and only sharing those things with the actual people that pay me to do the work. But in being transparent, what I will share to you is for a long time, even though I was like an actual expert in Google Ads, I struggled to really define my target market and get the clients that I wanted to get. And a lot of that is because when you first start out in business, you're just like, dude, I will take anyone who will pay me. But I had this definition for the ideal customer client. I had my definition for what I really wanted to have. And a lot of that was really that client that wanted to own their own Google Ads, that wanted to learn, that wanted me to just absolutely build that and teach them everything I know so they could run their own Google Ads and stop being dependent on these agencies. Because I've been transparent, I am not necessarily an agency fan. So doing that and portraying that in where I was getting my business, which was LinkedIn and social media, it wasn't flowing at the rate that I wanted it to flow. So I was kind of accepting, work here and work there and not necessarily meeting my target market where I wanted to be. So it's funny, as a marketer, I had to follow my own advice for my own business. And so I took a step back, probably, I think I would have said December. So it's been about 6 months since that like very, very deep self-work that I was doing on my own business. And I decided after making 100 videos about publishing 24/7 on LinkedIn and doing all that, that I really wanted to own my own space. And so I started blogging, fingers on keyboard, on my own blog. And that is finally really, really started to pay off. I take many discovery calls per week and it's all around my blog. And then my blog gets recommended in AI and I'm getting the best of both worlds. I'm getting the blog traffic through search. I'm getting the AI traffic and it's just really been instrumental. And it's also helped my brain. A lot of self-serving things have happened here that have also grown my business. So, all of that said, I've also felt like I needed to play the game of Google, which means feeding Google a lot of those just like very basic 101 questions, not necessarily the deep dives or the personal stories or the things like I had to answer a question that somebody had so then they could get to know me and then read the stories and my way of thinking and my way of approaching a problem. So I went out and I put this blog post out, which is how to buy Google Ads. But looking back on that, and especially coming back from being in person at Google at GML, it just feels generic to me. So again, there is a real question behind somebody typing in, how do I buy Google Ads? Most business owners, they don't actually want to buy Google Ads. They want business. They want leads, just like I do. They want stability. They want the phone to ring. They want their forms to be filled out. And I'm saying this as someone who was just, again, at Google Marketing Live, listening to Google, the business, the overarching keynotes talk about AI, automation, and scaling businesses and getting the buy-in from the CFO and all the shiny stuff. And the whole time I'm sitting there in my seat as a practitioner, as someone who runs Google Ads, and I am thinking, none of this matters to people if they don't know how to buy ads safely. And so when I was at GML and I was just observing more than the spoken word, more than the keywords, I noticed there was such a large part of GML that was focused on YouTube. on the visual content, on the push of automation, but founders don't really know how to bring YouTube and how to bring imagery and how to bring a lot of this depth into their marketing campaigns. And if they don't know how to do that, I think that's going to put them in a bad place when they realize a lot of it is going to be I'm gonna use the word a little forced on them. It's a place where they have to be at this point because it's getting harder and harder to build that standard search campaign and let an exact search campaign be just that. So no, I don't think the keyword is dying, but I think the integration between all the campaign types is getting more and more blurry. So when we talk about the two ways to buy Google Ads with only one safe way, there are two real ways to buy Google Ads, right? You buy clicks directly through your own account, right? Like you pay per click, you buy someone's expertise to manage that for you, and everything else is noise. But here is what I don't feel like other marketers are really, really saying. Probably because they don't want to alienate everyone around them, probably because it's just really, it's a hard push pull. But most people who get burned buying ads in Google, they don't get burned from buying the wrong thing from the wrong person. They just get burned by doing everything in the wrong order. So I have had, because again, I have clients that bring this in-house, I've experienced so many clients that they hired an agency too early in the game when they really didn't have the threshold. So they're not only paying for their ads, but they're paying for someone who, I mean, they're taking a commission or they're taking a retainer on top of that ad spend. And so they really didn't have the margins to be able to afford it. And I also think without having run your own ads, without having understood the process, they're open to scams. So I have actually heard scams like buying aged Google Ads account. And so basically what that is that an agency has had a Google Ads account running. Sorry, I laugh because it's ridiculous and it makes my head spin. And I can't believe I found out about this. But so basically an agency sells them on the fact that they have an old ads account and they literally prop XYZ client into this aged account. That will not matter. It is your own data. It has to be quote unquote aged itself. If that's not even a thing. You're basically buying your own data. It's just, again, that's not a thing. I don't know how this scam came about, but people have been scammed into thinking they have to buy an ad account that has been warmed up somehow or that's older. It's just, no, please do not fall for these scams. But again, I had to write about it. So again, when you're brand new to this, Google, the ad platform itself, is happily going to let you spend all the money that you want before you understand what you're doing. The platform itself is designed to spend first and ask questions later. The agency itself, there's a lot of corruption within the agency world, especially when you're going below like a $2,000 a month retainer. That's where the corruption lives. Also in the niches. So like if they're only going after one specific type, like I find in plumbing and a lot of service-based businesses, there's a lot of scammy agencies because they know how to talk to the plumbers or the electricians or the service-based, the local pest removal. They know how to talk to you. They know the language. And so they in the deal and then they just sort of manage your account in a so-so manner because they know the industry and they know you're not looking at it. It's just, that is where the scamming lives. And so again, coming back from Google Marketing Live, hearing Google double down on AI and auto everything, it's great. But again, if you know how to control it, if you know how to control the beast, and if you don't, you're just kind of being a victim. And that's where budgets die. You're a victim to Google. You're a victim to agencies. You don't have the expertise. And so when we talk about Google and sort of that safer way, there's hidden automations. You can have broad match chaos. You can have the 20 to 30% of waste that I see happening in a lot of accounts. It's a concept. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. And so what is really, again, the point of this video, the safe way to buy Google Ads? So if you're that person, you've come to my blog and you're like, the safe way, how do I buy Google Ads? This is my recommendation. If you are starting from zero, here's the safest way to buy Google Ads. And the part that I didn't really address in my in my original blog post because I felt too blunt for the post. 1, create your own account. For the love of God, you own the account in your business and make that an email that everyone always has access to. So if that employee leaves, you still have it. Own your data. By having your own account, you own your own data. I have a client today that I've been working with that I went in to look at the old ads that were running, and I used the ads transparency center, and I figured out their ads were running in the same account as like a solar panel account. It just, what the agency did is they took all their accounts and put them in one. I have no idea why. I don't know what the scam is there. Maybe it's so they only have to verify the business one time. I don't know, but it's just, it's not okay. Install your tracking before you spend a dollar. And tracking, it is very easy or it can be very hard. I, again, am currently consulting with a client and we have dug all over. We've installed GTM tags, Google Tag Manager. We've been in Google. We have set up events, custom events in analytics. I am by no means a tracking expert, but I've made sure that we have the tracking and then we have a secondary look to make sure, okay, are we looking at this process? I don't necessarily have to optimize for it, but I want to see, can we tell when people are filling out a form versus making a phone call versus becoming a lead? And can we upload that? I've gone through and coached that client through every single piece of this. Again, not a tracking expert. If you want the detailed tracking, you're going to need to work with somebody who's specialized in the coding, especially if you have something really unique. But you want to do that first before you spend a dollar so you know that your ads are pointing in the right direction. And again, it's something that I really, really, really pride myself on helping my clients troubleshoot and getting to. And if a situation is so unique that I cannot get to that level of perfection, I will absolutely refer that out to tracking specialists to make sure that that's right before we start running ads to that. And then also start thinking about your highest value service. You want to keep your budget tight at first. You don't want to just let someone run ads for an account you don't control. That is the foundation. That is the part that is going to protect you. Start small and then start iterating on what is working. So I'm going to tell another story about an agency. It was a therapist. I do a lot of work with therapists, and they came to me and they didn't own their own ads account. So we had to start from scratch. And again, we had to sort of backtrack and use the Ads Transparency Center to go in and see, because we started building before they actually left their agency. So that way on day one, we could turn live. We had to go back and see, okay, well, what's happening over here? Okay, well, what can we extract out of their analytics that we think the agency was doing? Was that good? Was that bad? I mean, we didn't really know. So we had to build from scratch without seeing, and they have to go back through that data building phase of the account without taking the brains of the account that had been running previously. So it puts them in a backwards position. It's not the best situation, but it's what happens if you don't learn to buy your ads safely and correctly. So what happens when you do hire help? Because I get it. You don't want to spend all of that time doing this on your own and feeling vulnerable. You want to own your own data. Everything I said sounds good. When you hire help, your time becomes more expensive than your ad spend, not before. So if you're spending $1,000 a month, you probably are not going to want to hire an agency. If you're spending $10,000 a month, you probably can get away with doing it internally and then hiring someone like me oversee that and to make sure that that's actually happening correctly. If you're spending $20,000, again, I don't believe in agencies. I still believe at this point that you're able to handle it internally, and I can be there to help do that. I always tell my clients, I like to get you to the edge of where you think you go out and just throw away your existing business and run ads for a living because you're that good at ads. But the reality is you're that good at ads with your business, with what has been set up, with what is customized to you and your business, not necessarily ads in general, but I get you right to that threshold. And if you want to learn the platform, like I just explained, and build that internal capacity, that is where I lay. And if someone tries to take ownership of your account, just freaking run. I, in particular, have coined something that I call protective PPC. That is my philosophy. That is how I run my business. And it is because naturally I feel very protective of the businesses that I serve and the business that I take care of, because I don't want to see more businesses get burned more than they have to in this already messed up world of marketing that we are in today. So what did I learn at Google Marketing Live? Because that's what's fresh in my mind. At GML, the message was clear. Google wants more automation, more AI, more conversations, more trust in the machine. And honestly, I actually completely get it and I buy into that. I think automation could be incredibly powerful, but here is what I want. And I wish that I could scream out loud while everyone is on stage. Automation only works when the human behind it understands what they're actually buying. That is why I wrote the guide that's a little bland, but it's very encompassing that you can read on my blog or skim. And that is why I wanted to come back months later, months after GML, and make this video to go with that blog post. Because it's not just about buying the ads, it's about buying them safely and understanding exactly what you're buying so that you can stop losing money and stop feeling very confused about something that you should really, really understand. I came out of GML excited, skeptical about some parts. I'm a little skeptical about a lot of what they're talking about with the conversational AI, but also mainly excited and to an extent empowered because I know as more and more businesses go down the road of automation, and not understanding or just blindly choosing that automation, it's going to open up the door for more business for me, someone who's been doing the strategy all along. So thank you so much for joining me today. And again, I wrote the post, How to Buy Google Ads. I will link it in the show notes. It's helpful. It's thorough, it's safe, and it's a step-by-step version. But this video, this is the version with the truth. This is the version with sort of the emotion that I cannot necessarily always convey in words or that maybe is skimmed over. If you want to continue the conversation with me, find me on my blog, reach out to me, set up a meeting. I do audits. I do building campaigns. I do anything that involves giving you the most possible empowerment to bring your ads in house and understand exactly what that means for your business. Thanks, and I'll see you in the comments.